From close calls with drug overdose,
Called my pain doctor and told him what I did. He goes, take that shit off your legs. That's how people overdose.
to enemies who wished to see him dead. Hulk Hogan was more vulnerable than most, but the real cause of his death was neither a hit or drugs. There's something far more depressing going on, and when you learn the truth, you might suffer heartbreak. The cause of the deadly medical nightmare caused by the Hulkster. For months, wrestling fans throughout the world have been told the fiction that the legendary Hulkster passed away from cardiac failure on July 24, 2025, at the age of 71. Heart arrest, which occurred at his home at around 9:51 a.m., was listed as the official cause of death. However, what if I told you that this was just the start of a far more horrific, sinister reality? The real story begins not with his final moments, but with decades of medical negligence, botched surgeries, and a healthcare system that continuously failed one of wrestling's most prominent figures. On July 24, 2025, at around 9:51 a.m., emergency services responded at Hulk Hogan's home in Clearwater, Florida, following a report of what authorities described as a cardiac arrest.
Just before 10 a.m. today, Clearwater Fire and Rescue along with the Clearwater Police Department responded to a house in the 1000 block of El Dorado Avenue for a medical-related call. It was discovered at that time Terry Bollea, also known as Hulk Hogan, was experiencing a serious medical-related issue. Personnel provided medical treatment at that time and transported Mr. Bollea to Morton Plant Hospital, where he died at 11:17 a.m.
The mainstream media presented this as a straightforward medical emergency. When he was transferred to Morton Plant Hospital and pronounced dead at approximately 11:17 a.m., authorities ruled out foul play.
The Clearwater Police Department is conducting a death investigation, which is standard in these types of cases. There are no signs of foul play or suspicious activity related to this call for service at this time.
This is where the story takes its first unfavorable turn. According to several accounts, this was not the sudden, unexpected disaster we were told it was. Instead, medical experts said it was the inevitable result of a neglect tragedy that had been growing for over a decade. Only weeks before his death, there had been rumors about Hogan's declining health. His wife, Sky Daly, was forced to deny allegations on Instagram that he was in a coma, asserting that his heart is healthy and that there was never any brain damage or oxygen shortage. Following neck surgery, May 2025. The public was told that there was no need for concern and that he was fully recovering. But behind the scenes, a much darker story was being told, one of unnecessary surgeries, medical malpractice, and a healthcare system that might have intentionally harmed the body of one of America's most beloved sports stars. Actually, Hulk Hogan's death was more than just the premature passing of an old sportsman. Due to decades of medical mistakes, poorly executed therapies, and what can only be described as institutionalized medical abuse, the once dominant Hulkster was reduced to a broken shell of his former self. Let me take you back to 2013, when the "it" should have been the first warning sign. In a $50 million medical malpractice lawsuit, Hogan accused the Laser Spine Institute of executing 6 unnecessary endoscopic procedures between February 2009 and August 2010. The complaint revealed disturbing details about the institute's use of fear tactics to divert him from recommended conventional spinal surgery and toward less invasive procedures that provided just temporary, week-long relief. Even more shocking was the assertion that the institute's founder, James St. Louis, had a large, undisclosed ownership stake, which implied financial not related to medical necessity. The Laser Spine Institute's deceptive practices did not end with Hogan. The hospital was eventually closed in 2019 after handling dozens of malpractice lawsuits and paying out more than $500 million in damages. A woman in Pennsylvania died hours after being discharged from their surgery center, leading to a $20 million wrongful death settlement. The institute was also discovered to be giving patients illegal incentives, like paying for their airfare and accommodation, which is against Medicare rules. However, this is where the story starts. becomes considerably more tragic. Hogan proved that the earlier treatments had been both unnecessary and harmful when he was able to return to work 3 months after undergoing routine fusion surgery in December 2010. The Laser Spine Institute lawsuit was ultimately settled out of court for an estimated $10 million, with estimates ranging from a high 7-figure to a low 8-figure. The trend of medical neglect was not the only one. In his later years, Hogan reportedly underwent over 25 surgeries in the last decade alone. Get it?
Also, pain management.
Yeah, that's a whole nother trip, brother, because I've had 25 surgeries in the last 10 years. So when people say, hey, the wrestling's fake, it goes right up.
In May 2025, a 4-level anterior cervical vasectomy fusion was performed on his neck. At first, his team characterized it as minor, but problems arose that would prove to be the beginning of the end. The fact that Hogan was reportedly intubated following surgery because of acute COPD, fluid overload, and renal failure was not disclosed to the public, according to insider reports. He was sent home after undergoing treatment at Tampa General Hospital since there were no more options for intervention. According to former manager Jimmy Hart and others, he was unable to speak, suggesting negative reactions that his representatives did their best to downplay. According to some accounts, most horrifying discovery is based on an autopsy that was released. Conclusions. Even though the law did not require an autopsy, the Pinellas County Medical Examiner's report allegedly showed severe internal trauma from wrestling injuries, including chronic inflammation, untreated nerve compression, undetected internal bleeding, degeneration in his spine and lower back, and accumulation of scar tissue. Medical experts evaluating these results described Hogan's survival to age 71 as a miracle in the context of what they called the tragedy of neglect. Cardiologists noted that early care could have extended his life, and other publications directly related the cardiac arrest to problems from the May 2025 neck surgery. But perhaps the most incriminating evidence comes from Hogan's own final months. Despite the clear warning signs, he favored unconventional therapy like acupuncture and CBD oils over further medical intervention. He had apparently missed his appointment with a cardiologist and vowed to refrain from any more surgeries or hospital stays. The horrible irony is that this could not have occurred. His wife, Sky Daly, denied rumors of serious issues just weeks before he died, saying that his heart was healthy and that he was recovering well. Rumor has it, however, that he fainted while exercising alone in his personal gym. A bit of information that gives an already tragic tale a new level of suffering. This narrative is even more frustrating because of the pattern of denial and cover-up surrounding Hogan's final months. In June 2025, radio DJs like Bubba the Love Sponge started spreading false rumors that Hogan was crippled, in a coma, or near death. Despite the adamant denials of his representatives, we now know that these accusations were more true than anyone wanted to admit. It turns out that medical malpractice had brought Hulk Hogan dangerously near to death before. The unspoken story of pain, medicine, and an overworked body. Even if you found the medical misconduct shocking, what I'm about to tell you about Hulk Hogan's battles with pain and addiction will cause you to reconsider everything you thought you knew about the price of fame in professional wrestling. This isn't just about a man who overindulged in painkillers. This is about a company that profits from the suffering of others, enabling, sustaining, and ultimately hiding the systematic devastation of the human body. A number that should frighten anyone entering a wrestling ring opens the story. Hogan underwent at least 25 surgery in the last decade of his life. 10 of them were for his back alone. They weren't standard procedures, though. They were desperate attempts to restore a body that had been deliberately damaged by decades of what Hogan himself said was a failure to recognize the fakeness of this material.
Pain are you in right now?
Everything hurts just like It's hard to explain. Like if I'm going to brush my teeth and I'm leaning on the counter brushing my teeth, I can't push away.
You must comprehend what wrestling did to Hogan's physique in order to appreciate the extent of his anguish. During his prime, he did his iconic leg drop maneuver more than 300 times annually, repeatedly, injuring his lower back and tailbone. Hogan said that his leg drop is the reason for all of his back operations. I was destroyed by dropping that leg for 35 years.
All those years dropping that leg in those rings, you know, with the board sticking up or laying on my tailbone. Oh my God, what was that, a rock in the ring? Oh my God, was that a board sticking up? All those years dropping the leg, I would have changed that and I would have never dropped the leg.
But the physical destruction was just the beginning. Led to a journey into pharmaceutical hell, where he came perilously close to death multiple times. As doctors continued to prescribe him medications, Hogan claims that his addiction to them grew out of control, reaching a particularly acute state. Between 2017 and 2018, when he was unable to function without them, the fentanyl tale is where this nightmare comes to a head. Fentanyl, which is 50 times more potent than heroin and 100 times more potent than morphine, according to the CDC, was administered because of Hogan's severe tolerance to other opioids. The result was catastrophic.
It me so much and compromised the structural integrity of my back by cutting so much bone away that I was just a mess.
9/21. Hogan talked about how physicians gave him fentanyl after numerous operations because of his high morphine tolerance in an appearance. On the Joe Rogan Experience, Quay claimed that this decision nearly killed him and that he experienced severe physical reactions that required EMT assistance.
And then there's one night when I don't know what I was taking. I guess they had me on the fentanyl things you stick up under your gums and patches on my legs and the lollipops. Remember one night my body just completely torqued and my head and shoulders were facing the opposite way. And it took a bunch of EMTs to get me out of the house.
It was an amazing dosage. 150 milligrams patches on his legs, 280 fentanyl pills to be placed between his gums every morning and night, and 15 lollipops containing 1,500 milligrams each to be taken during the day, a quantity that would kill most people. The real cost was significantly higher, even though it was uninsured and cost $2,000 for 2 days. The way that Hogan described the symptoms of withdrawal seemed like something from a terrible movie. His wife's teeth fell out and spoke to him in hallucinations. He dropped 35 pounds. He slept violently and harmed himself. Woke up with his head turned away from his shoulders and his body twisted, and he sweated through his bed and mattress multiple times. It went beyond a simple addiction. This was chemical torture.
And I sweated through the bed, all the way through the mattress and stuff several times. I had people come in and check on me, and I saw my ex-wife's teeth come out and talk to me. I saw a plastic squirt gun come out of her chest, and this is coming off the fentanyl.
But fentanyl wasn't the only drug he battled. It reads like a medical textbook outlining every potential medical issue because of how many treatments Hogan underwent. Wear and strain from wrestling probably led to the replacement of both his hips and knees. Most likely as a result of blows he received while wrestling. He underwent multiple shoulder surgeries, some of which were done more than 20 years ago. Both shoulders were scoped, and one treatment was made worse by Mr. S.A. and necessitated a long recovery period. According to his daughter Brooke, the procedures on the eyes and abdomen add to this medical horror. There aren't many details, but these were most likely related to injuries from wrestling. The most likely causes were eye-orbital socket fractures and potential abdominal hernias. Perhaps most troubling was the fact that anyone who looked attentively could see his physical decline. Hogan attributed his 3-inch decline in height from 6'7" to roughly 6'4" to structural changes brought on by multiple back surgeries and spinal compression. It went beyond aging. This was the physical collapse of an overworked human body.
It's hard to explain. Like if I'm going to brush my teeth and I'm leaning on the counter brushing my teeth, I can't push away. So when I'm done brushing my teeth, I have to lean in like that and then pull back.
Hogan's suffering every day was heartbreaking. He couldn't push a glass door open, he couldn't straighten his arms in the gym, and he had to lean on the counter to brush his teeth. His morning routine included 2 Tylenols and 2 cups of coffee to keep him functioning. The superhuman figure that millions remembered is not like that at all. The alcohol aspect of his addiction, though often overlooked, was equally damaging. Hogan admitted to having a dozen drinks after events throughout his wrestling career. He added that he usually took 2 Tylenols and 3 Miller Lights before games, and perhaps 12 Miller Lights afterward. This continued for several years until he decided to step down on New Year's Eve 2002, after seeing events at a party he didn't endorse. Although his abstinence resulted in a significant change, it also revealed the full amount of the damage. By August 2023, he had lost 40 pounds, from 300 to 260 pounds. And he joked that the last time he weighed this much, he was in 9th grade. This weight loss was beneficial, but it also demonstrated how drinking had been a cover for more significant health issues. Perhaps the most disturbing was the normalizing of this level of self-destruction in the wrestling profession. Hogan revealed that in his best, he wrestled 400 to 450 times a year and flew 300 days a year. The attitude of the industry was essentially deal with it or get out, even if the physical toll was very high.
I'd go wrestle Andre the Giant in, let's say, Baltimore Civic Center, and instead of the normal 18-foot ring, it would be a 22-foot boxing ring. It would be harder than the concrete. And Andre would go, "Don't go down," which means if you fall down, you're not going to get back up.
Hogan's equipment was often dangerous because some of the rings he wrestled on were tougher than concrete. Andre the Giant would warn him not to bump into certain rings to keep him safe, showing that even his classmates understood the grave risks. Hogan's stem cell treatments tried to represent yet another painful stage of his quest for comfort. He received intensive stem cell treatment in Panama for 3 days. But unlike many athletes, Hogan's physique was too damaged to respond to these treatments.
I went down there to Panama for 3 days. They hook you up IV-wise, then locally they blast you all over the place and neck, shoulders, everywhere. And after 3 days, they would call me like 2 weeks later and say, "Hey, so I feel the same." Then a month later they call me, "Feel the same." Then like 3 months later call me, nothing. So I didn't get anything from it.
The failure of stem cell therapy was particularly distressing because it was his last resort for a natural cure. Medical experts noted that his body was so damaged that it could not benefit from treatments that helped other athletes recover from similar injuries. The anguish that Hogan endures adds to the story's pathos. The management changed during his final years. He started utilizing CBD products, including perhaps edibles. After being introduced to cannabis-based well-being by colleagues like Ric Flair and Mike Tyson, items sold under his Immortal by Hulk Hogan brand include topicals, edibles, CBD, HHC, Delta-8, Andratum, as well as pre-rolls made from hemp.
Work into all of this?
For sleeping, sleeping, because I don't like not to be normal, and clear-headed. So if I can't sleep or have a hard time sleeping, I'll wake up after 2 hours and bite 1.5 or something, and it just knocks me out like a baby.
The irony is heartbreaking. After being nearly killed by pharmaceutical drugs, a man discovered comfort in natural alternatives. But it was too late to undo the damage. Tragically, Hulk Hogan's health problems extend beyond the pain he endured and his struggle with addiction. The reason for this is that a lot of it could have been prevented. From the unnecessary Laser Spine Institute operations to the dangerous fentanyl prescriptions. From the industry's acceptance of self-destruction to the lack of proper medical supervision, the system that permitted and prolonged Hogan's suffering put profits ahead of humanity. But these health problems were just one aspect of a complex legacy that includes both incredible achievements and devastating scandals that continue to influence public perceptions of Hulk Hogan, the complex legacy of a legend who has passed. away. Perhaps the final chapter of Hulk Hogan's story is the most complicated and controversial. This is more than just a great wrestler who died too young. It recounts the tale of a man whose reputation became so tainted by scandals, and personal failings that plagued him long after his death. To understand the complexity of Hogan's legacy, we must start with his undeniable achievements in professional wrestling. Hogan won 12 World Championships, including 6 WWF, WWE, and 6 WCW titles, and was twice inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. He became the first wrestler to win consecutive Royal Rumble matches in 1990 and 1991, and he was the main attraction at 8 of the first 9 WrestleMania events. His cultural impact extended well beyond the ring. WrestleMania 3, March 9, in front of 93,173 people at the Pontiac Silverdome in 1987. He body-slammed Andre the Giant, one of wrestling's most well-known moments. He faced Andre the Giant on February 5, 1988. The main event broke wrestling television, watching records in the US with a record 33 million viewers. Even his greatest accomplishments would soon be overshadowed by scandals that occurred beneath the red and yellow bandana. The most catastrophic incident occurred in July 2015, when a leaked sex tape from 2007 revealed Hogan using racial epithets, including the N-word. While discussing his daughter's relationship with a black man, the recordings showed him saying, "I am a racist to a point." A single remark quickly destroyed decades of goodwill. The immediate results were catastrophic. WWE terminated his contract on July 24, 2015, and removed all of his information, including his Hall of Fame credentials, from their website. Mattel ceased producing his action figures, and stores like Target and Walmart stopped stocking products. In the same video, Hogan used homophobic terms like big underscore. When discussing a reality show plan,
I was at the lowest point of my life. My personal life was destroyed. I was very mad at my daughter. I was upset over a situation that happened between her and her boyfriend, and I had no idea I was being taped. I was to the point where I wanted to kill myself.
Hogan's attempts at atonement were at most passable. He denied being racist and apologized in public on multiple occasions, including on ABC's Good Morning America. Following what WWE claimed were numerous apologies and attempts to interact with young people, he was once again welcomed into the WWE Hall of Fame on July 15, 2018. But the decision was still up for debate. Hogan was plagued by many issues during his time in office, notably the racism controversy. During Vince McMahon's drug trafficking trial in 1994, Hogan testified under immunity and admitted to using anabolic steroids for 13 years to put on muscle. Keys that over 80% of the wrestlers he knew used steroids, sometimes known as juice or gas, in the 1980s. His use of steroids may have contributed to his subsequent health problems. Anabolic steroids have been linked to heart illness, reduced heart function, and an increased risk of heart attacks, all of which are consistent with Hogan's eventual cause of death, cardiac arrest, according to scientific study. Another significant scandal centered on his association with Jesse Ventura and the failed attempt at unionization in the 1980s. Ventura attempted to form a wrestlers' union before WrestleMania 2 in 1986. But once Hogan informed Vince McMahon, McMahon stopped the attempt and fired Ventura.
When my attorney said, Mr. McMahon, has there ever been a union in wrestling? And Vince said, no. He said, has anyone ever tried to? And Vince said, well, I think Jesse Ventura spouted his mouth off about it once before. And my attorney said, did you hear Mr. Ventura? No. Well, then how do you know he...
Vince told me right away when Hulk Hogan told me. Recent interviews reveal that Ventura has never been able to forgive this treachery. He says that throughout the complex legal battle surrounding the sex tape controversy, Vince McMahon's sworn deposition testimony exposed his prejudice when he openly said, Hulk Hogan told me about the unionization effort. Hogan and Heather Klim were spotted together on the 2006-2007 tape, Spouse of Bubba, a radio personality who is known as the Love Sponge. Hogan sued Gawker Media after parts of the story were published by the business in 2012. The litigation resulted in a $140 million award and Gawker's bankruptcy. Eventually, it was found that the action was being funded by millionaire Peter Thiel, who had personal animosity toward Gawker. Family conflicts added another dimension to Hogan's turbulent history. A car accident involving his son Nick in 2007. Settlements and media attention followed. Nick's drunk driving incident that caused serious injuries to passenger John Graziano. He awarded Linda Hogan 70% of his liquid assets in a highly contentious 2009 divorce. Hogan's final years were marked by political turbulence as well. His endorsement of Donald Trump's 2024 address at the Republican National Convention prompted debate over his prior racist remarks. His political actions, which some perceived as evidence that he hadn't truly changed, further polarized fans. A grueling schedule that promoted Real American Beer and his own wrestling league. Real American Freestyle Wrestling was reportedly wearing Hogan down in his final months. Some close to Hogan were concerned about the pressure, while others saw it as his choice to be involved for his supporters. Hulk Hogan's legacy will always be multifaceted, encompassing aspects of inspiration, caution, and tragedy. He showed us what was possible when someone dedicated their lives to becoming successful in sports and entertainment. But he also showed us the terrible price of such devotion.